Meet Stephanie Gondwe, the fiery force behind Nkashiyandi Women's Network and Nkani With Nkashiyandi podcast. Known for her bold and talkative personality, Stephanie is not afraid to speak her mind. In this special edition of Nkani With Nkashiyandi, Stephanie takes center stage to dish out all the unfiltered truth about business challenges and share key takeaways from her interviews so far. Get ready for a dose of reality, inspiration, and insider insights that will leave you empowered and informed. Tune in for an unapologetic conversation that will make you think, reflect, and maybe even challenge your own perspectives.
Welcome to today's episode of Nkani With Nkashiyandi. My name is Stephanie Gondwe, the founder of Nkashiyandi Women's Network, and now the creator of Nkani With Nkashiyandi. I know ordinarily you'd be expecting a guest with me. We're doing it solo. We are doing a solo interview. So we're going to be covering a few topics on business, women in business, and just business generally. Topic number one, starting a business. I think if you have looked at the majority of the conversations that I've had with the various women so far, most of the women have expressed that having to start a business is necessary. You just need to start. In my opinion, I think don't listen to too many voices out there. Everybody's got an opinion. And the more voices that you listen to, then the more disturbed and, a little bit distracted you are about doing what it is that you want to do. But yeah, for me, to be fair, I started my business on the basis that I just wanted to be independent. So I kind of took my own advice, even though I didn't know it then. But when I look back at it right now, I'm like, yeah, I took my own advice and I'm glad that I did. Because if you know me, then you know that I can go on and on and on and on. We'll literally go from Nairobi to Tanzania and then to Zambia and then South Africa and then up Egypt, all over the place. So I wrote a few notes that I feel that I needed to discuss so that anybody out there can, be a bit more relatable to what it is that I'm saying and it can be on point. So as opposed to going from up there to down there and then sideways, like we're going to take a nice trip from, Cape Town all the way up to Egypt. So stay with me. Being in business, generally myself, I have experienced quite a lot of ups and downs in the past few years. Following up with the many interviews that I have been doing, I know some of you are thinking, many, we haven't seen so many, but some are already pre-recorded. So yeah, you will be seeing them starting next week back again. So this solo interview may not be the last, but it's the first in a number of interviews that we will be doing. When I started my business, I instantly realized that there were some of the challenges that we experienced in Zambia, some of them being things like competition. I will label it competition because people like to make competition like a really bad thing. Competition is a good thing. Like when you look at chain stores like ShopRite, Pick n Pay, Choppies, these are competitors when you look at it. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you see it, these guys will not offer the same products and services, and neither will they offer the same or the exact price, So those are competitors, and it's good competitors because people need variety. So sometimes in business, when we hear things like competition, I think people always think, oh, I need to compete with and look over my shoulder and look at the back and see what the other person is doing. No. In business, you do not look back. You look forward. Always look ahead of you. Always look in the mirror. See what it is that you can improve about the business. See what it is that you can improve yourself as a business owner. And in doing that, you will be able to match up with your competition. The opposite of competition, collaboration. Do I think collaboration is good? 100%. Simply because I have collaborated with so many business owners in the past and recently, right now, as you can fully see, dressed by Nina's Closet. That's a business owner. Not in the line of business that I'm doing. I'm personally an event planner, but here we are collaborating because they're making me look good, feel good, and look good for you guys. So when you talk of collaboration, look for people within your circles, out of the circle, that you can collaborate with just to enable you to enhance your business and make you do better. Because I feel also sometimes people get so caught up in the competition that they forget that you can always collaborate to make yourself better. Let's be honest, you and I don't know it all. I may know a few things here and there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I know everything. And it's always good to be honest with yourself and understand the facts that doing things like basically in life, there is no man that's an island. So that said, even raising kids, I mean, they say it takes a whole village to raise kids, and trust in me as a mother, I believe that's true. There is no such thing as raising kids on your own. Some of the things that a startup may experience may be that it is a little hard to reach out to people and find out what it is that you can do to collaborate. It may also be a bit difficult for you to, just start as well. But one thing you should always know is that you're better off starting than not knowing at all. Someone once told me that always knock on every door, because if you don't knock, how would you know what the answer is? You'll never know if the answer is no. You'll never know if the answer is yes. So knock anyway. That way you're going to be able to find out what it is that's ahead of you. If it's a no, if it's a yes, great things, good things, bad things. You never know. Just knock on that door. So if you're a startup thinking about starting a business, you heard me. Knock on those doors. It never hurt anybody. Okay? Speaking from experience myself. What other things that a business owner is inevitable to encounter? You're going to encounter things like failure. I think in some of the podcasts that I have done so far, something that is widely talked about is failure. And I deliberately asked my interviewees to talk about it because I think just as a culture or just as a norm, nobody ever really talks about it. You know what I mean? People seem to be uncomfortable. No one wants to talk about it. It's almost as if you talk about failure, then something has gone wrong. And that's one thing that I never really understand. Why wouldn't you talk about failure? Because at the end of the day, it's part and parcel of the journey. I did it myself. I have actually failed to talk about a few failures here and there in the past. And obviously that's in the past, like I said. So now that I've experienced growth and knowing more of who I am, etc., I've come to learn that at the end of the day, life is so short. If we do not manage to manage our failures, manage our successes, we'll never be able to appreciate the things that we're achieving. We achieve so much, we lose so much, but it's all part of the journey. I used to think that failure was only for people that can never be in business, that can never be at work, or whatever the case is. But failure is for everyone. Someone has failed at something at some point in their life. And it's only fair to acknowledge it and keep moving. Look at it this way. Business is like labor. For everybody that's a mother, you will agree with me that labor is one of the most testing things in life, and you will understand that that is the point at which you will realize that there's a God out there. And I truly believe that God indeed is out there, because labor is something else, okay? And that's how we're looking at our business in this case. You are brewing something, not for 9 months per se, but you're brewing something for years, maybe on end. And sometimes it feels as if the results are not coming, but they are coming. And when they do come, they're wonderful. They are something that I think personally, it is a great feeling to achieve. So never look at business as something that's for certain people. For some people, they do say if all of us were doctors, who would then be the patient? Which is so true. Like not all of us are supposed to be in business. Not all of us are supposed to be working 9 to 5 jobs. Not all of us are supposed to be farmers. It's a balance. So if you are out there and looking to start a business, start. Don't look back. Don't look at competition. Also, take it easy. Take it easy on yourself. Yeah. Okay. Now we're gonna address the challenges of business. I'm gonna take a little backseat for this one, and maybe let's address a few elephants in the room that I feel a lot of business owners may not talk about every now and then, but I personally feel it's something I would love to talk about because it's been a recurrent experience and a very timely reminder that at the end of the day, I'm the owner of the business. It's my terms and condition, and I should not let somebody else dictate my business terms and conditions. So some of the business challenges that I have personally faced, things like dealing with people in the corporate world. And it's not all corporates. Let me make that disclaimer, but people in the corporate world, for some reason, do not look at small business owners as people that are making money to grow the economy, I think. I'm not going to necessarily say everybody thinks that way. With my personal experience, some corporates take advantage of small business owners. You will find that you have been given a job, and this job is to supply X amount of potatoes. This is just an example, to a certain company. And this is a big company. And they tell you date of payment is 30 days later or 20 days later or whatever the terms and conditions have been set up there. And, you look at it and you're like, okay, I think this is good for me, good for my business because I'm trying to grow. So if other corporates are able to see that I'm able to, then definitely, I would be able to get more business like this and the money would be good. Lo and behold, you will find that instead of paying you the date that is agreed on, they will not, they will dilly-dally, and it has a toll and a huge effect on a business. And personally, situations like that have unfortunately, messed up great relationships with other business owners because, like I said much earlier on, for me, I believe in partnering. I'm not an island. So I know I need backup of other business owners to achieve certain things. Yeah. Because also it's about capacity. If I'm a small business, my capacity is not the same as a well-established business. So in understanding all of that, I know that, at the end of the day, a small business and a big business cannot have the same, operations. However, I know to say if I go to this person, they'll be able to collaborate with me if I show them proof of what I'm doing and this. And those are the relationships that we as business owners are trying to create with each other. And now imagine a situation where you don't receive that payment. So you are the person that's directly interacting with this corporate entity and you're the one that knows the situation there. So now the third party being the other business owners don't maybe even buy your story. Maybe for them it's just like, oh, but then why did you do the business in the first place? Because then if you don't have the capacity, people have got all sorts of excuses and you can't run away from it because at the end of the day, they feel how they feel, or maybe how they deal with it is not the way you're dealing with the situation. So understandably so, you would understand that, other business owners are very upset with you because you have delayed their payments and all of that. So as a fellow business owner, in my own understanding, I understand the inconvenience that I've caused the third party. But here's this corporate that simply does not care about how their delay in payment or them not paying you at the right time is affecting you. And this, by the way, is not a corporate bashing story. This also goes to, unfortunately, our government. I do not know when our government is going to take accountability for things that are happening in the ministries, etc., etc. Small businesses, even big businesses as well. We have pending payments in these government institutions. And I was literally just discussing this with a friend of mine last night, and she mentioned how quite a good sum of money has been in one of these ministries for almost 2 years now. Now I'm thinking, you've made a plan. Because I don't think there's any business owner that doesn't make a plan. You have made a plan and you want to make payments, maybe purchases, because as a business owner, every business, I believe, needs to reinvest. So you have made business plans. You have made, advancements on what it is that you want to do for your business, etc., etc. Maybe you have even borrowed money for some other people's cases, and then you don't get paid by this institution. And then you're thinking, okay, what do I do now? It is at that point where I realized that a lot of people, a lot of companies, our government inclusive, is not considerate of how they are trying to grow the businesses here in Zambia. It's a pity that, we have to even discuss things like this, because I feel like at the end of the day, businesses should not be run like this. If everybody could be in employment, I think there would be no need for anybody to start a business, right? But none of us can be employment or be employed or be in a job 8 to 5, That also depends on your passions and all of that. So if we're all trying to create a life for ourselves, then starting from the top level, all those people must be considerate of the kind of effects that things like maybe even them consider small as payments are affecting business owners. Because guess what? I am not interested in doing business with you if I'm going to be affected all the time. And unfortunately, we get these sad, stories, even from people that you would think would not make such hurdles of not paying a business owner. Yeah, some of the challenges that I think I have faced mainly in business are the corporate world and the government at the same time. I don't know whether it's a thing of corporates not, or the country at large not looking at you as big enough to do anything. I don't understand it, because if they don't consider you big enough, then you shouldn't be the one they should come to ask to supply anything, right? You would think that way, but unfortunately that's not the case. So it's a bit sad, to say the least. I would definitely want a situation where our businesses experience what I would love to see as an ordinary problem, because it's not it. Having big institutions, big companies, even the government itself not paying small businesses is just sad, to say the least. Yeah. But let's not dwell too much on companies failing to pay small businesses and all of that. But those are some of the challenges that I've experienced as a business owner. Some of the other challenges that I've experienced is that we lack systems that are able to, we try to diversify, try to do something different, try to make do of what it is that we have, but often it seems that I think we just don't have what it takes to be able to do what our friends are doing out there. And that's something that the government needs to look into. If at all, really and truly, the small business sector is contributing largely to our economy, then these are some of the things that should be addressed. Let's address things like payments being made in the government. Why are payments being stalled from 2022, 2023, 2024? It doesn't make sense. Where are these business owners getting the money to reinvest in their businesses? Where are they getting the money to pay back the loans? Because, for example, if I get a loan today from a bank to be able to supply something to the government, for example, and then I don't get paid in the 30 days as stipulated, that loan is accumulating interest. accumulating bad relationships. On top of it, accumulating bad relationships. You're accumulating all sorts of things that are affecting you financially on your end because you're trying to make up for the finances that you initially thought were going to come through. So those are some of the things I think that needs to be addressed, and hopefully in the near future, not very far, but in the near future, we can see it better. As a business owner, some of the things that I have experienced that I think I can never take away, or that I would love to replace maybe with something less stressful, is being a business owner whilst being a parent. No one ever talks about how having to be a business owner and then going back home to parenting is just something else. You know, you have maybe, let's say, a 2-year-old, or you even have a teen or even older, to get home to, there's homework, there's all sorts of things to get to. I think those are some of the toughest things to juggle around, and we don't give credit much to people that are doing it. That includes me. But yeah, that is something. But kudos to mothers, kudos to fathers that are in business and trying to make ends meet whilst also being a parent at the same time. That is nothing that anybody can ever take away from you. That is a superpower on its own. Like, kudos to us. When you're in business, if you look at some of the interviews that we've had so far, some of them talk about having multiple sources of income. And I know some of you maybe may be asking to say, how can you have multiple sources of income? For me, I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial expert. But for those of you that are millennials or people looking for a job or looking to start a business, my advice would be, if you're already on a job or working somewhere, my advice would be, don't stop. Look for your passion. Look for something that you would love to do that you can make money out of. Because financially here in Zambia, realistically speaking, I don't think one income is enough. I think multiple streams of income is enough. By multiple, you can do farming, like Tinda mentioned in her farming, whilst doing her marketing business, different sources of income assisting you to be able to generate more and do more. Because I think the narrative that's being pushed out there is that someone can just make it with one business. I mean, it's possible too, but let's also push the narrative of having multiple sources of income, because that in itself is a game changer. And instead of you waiting for one income to come in from one end, you're not even waiting, because this one is coming maybe, let's say, on the 30th, this one is coming on the 15th, and this one is coming maybe on the 2nd or 3rd of the month. That for me would be ideally what I would be looking forward to. Nkani With Nkashiyandi is a podcast that is basically showcasing the unsung heroes. Unsung heroes means basically people that are making strides out there that you may not hear of every day. So those are the people that we interview here on Nkani With Nkashiyandi. I know to some people that I interview maybe here and there will come out as people that you may or may not know. But for me, my choice of interviewees are unsung heroes, because I believe, how many times are we going to hear the story of someone we already know? I think so many people are sharing those stories, and kudos to those people that are sharing those stories, because everybody needs somewhere to look up to and say, I would like to be like that person. It's just that for me, my niche for this particular podcast was to talk about unsung heroes, because there is so much that is being done out there. I've personally met so many beautiful entrepreneurs. I host women empowerment events, and this includes women that come to not just motivate, talk, inspire, and also give knowledge to the ladies that attend these events. And the women that we've had so far are very inspiring. And I think I love to bring out people that ordinarily some people may or may not know. it gives us a sense of relating to an ordinary person. I say an ordinary person because most times when we look at celebrities, for example, some people think that they cannot relate because, maybe they may be so highly achieved and people may feel intimidated, for lack of a better term, to be able to reach their level or feel inspired to listen and take a note out of their book because they feel maybe they're too high up there. So my job is to bring you the unsung heroes that we don't ordinarily hear every day. And it's just something that I'm so passionate about because I have been blessed so much by these individuals, some who I may not even know, because but these are people to say the struggle is real at the moment. So many businesses have been struggling, going through a lot of things that they're going through, financially, financial breakthroughs and all of that stuff, some good, some bad. Businesses just at large are going through so much. And that was the motivation for me to start this initially. I know a lot of people said, oh, why didn't you start this a long time ago? But there's a reason for everything. And there's always a time for everything, time and chances for everyone. And I thought this was the best time. And to be fair, there couldn't have been a better time because at least now, I did a whole media training last year and it was such a great experience. And now I'm able to use those tools to be able to bring my voice out and talk about women in business. I can do so many things with the tools that I have right now. And I'm so blessed and I'm so happy that you are also part of this journey. And I'm also happy that all these women in business have chosen to be a part of this platform. So real quick, before we end this solo interview, I'm just going to share a few take-homes from the first interview to the last interviews. Mainonge spoke about starting a business that she clearly had not done any research over and then ended up with the boutique business. And now she's obviously got 2 stores and very successful. So something I learned there, research, which she mentioned, is very important, and knowing exactly what it is that you're getting yourself into. Number 2, Zion's interview. Zion was leaving her full-time job to start a business, meaning she needed to know exactly what she was doing. So yes, research was part of what she was doing to make sure that she was doing something great, but also she made sure that she did a test drive. And something else that I learned from her, which is speaking a lot to me, was discipline. You need to be disciplined to be able to stay in business, remain relevant, and be successful. Number 3, which was Iku's interview. Iku is basically somebody that is still in a full-time job and also doing a side hustle. So that to me was a lesson of multitasking and also just having multiple sources of income. So to be able to sustain yourself, especially in this economy, have multiple incomes to be able to at least sustain yourself and sustain your lifestyle, if you may. Number 4, Ntinda Nkashiyandi. Ntinda's interview was basically like an interview from a quote book, okay? Like she had so many quotes that I think I loved so much. I was like, yes, go girl. Love that for us. But she had so many take-homes. And I told her personally, I said, I don't even know where to start from, but I had so many take-homes from her. And some of them were something a lot of people can relate to, obviously, but something that struck home for me was embracing failure. Because in the past, I have been victim to not embracing failure, but today I can say I've embraced my failures and I can safely say that they are part of my journey and definitely I'm going to do better. I cannot wait to share with you all the other stories. I cannot wait for you to learn, be inspired, and obviously do great after all these interviews. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and obviously tell a friend to tell a friend. See you next time.